through danger seen and unseen. There's protection all around. Under the refuge of God's wings, security is found. For there are angels watching you to keep you in all of your ways, keeping you from stumbling. So don't you be afraid. God's appointed angels watching over you. Angels watching over me. Angels watching over me. Angels watching over me. Unseen hands guiding me through my storm and through my rain. Healing hands holding me through the darkness of my pain. Wings of love encamped around me, so I will not fear, for I can feel their presence hovering near. Oh, angels watching over me. Angels watching over me. Angels watching over me. Angels watching over me. Oh, angels watching over. Angels watching over me, my Lord. Oh, night. Oh, angels watching over me, my Lord. Oh, night. Angels watching over you. Angels watching over my Lord. Angels, Jesus. They're watching over you and me. Angels watching over me. Angels watching over me. Oh, night. Every single day. Angels are watching you. Angels watching over me, my Lord. Oh, night. Thank you for the angels. Oh, the angels watching. They are watching over me, my Lord. Oh, night. Lord, I thank you for the angels. Angels watching. They keep on watching over me, my Lord. All night. And every single day. Angels watching over me. 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 Everywhere I go. Watching over me. He's sending angels before me. Angels watching over me. Angels, they're watching me. They're watching my children. They're watching my husband. They're watching.
Good morning. Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. How y'all doing? How you doing? Welcome to another Alkeubulan inspirational Sunday. And as you can see, this shoulder celebrating Black History Month. Now, I do have a image, but I didn't set it up on here because it's just kicked in. You know, when you go live and the spirit hits you, you just flow with the spirit. But you know, we're celebrating Black History Month, but I have that thing where, for me, Black History starts on January 1st and it ends December 31st. And I'm gonna post that next Sunday. Y'all might see a post up or during the week, but you know, Black History celebration starts January 1st and ends December 31st. Right. So Black History, the celebration of who we are, our footsteps, where we're gone, is throughout our entire life. And we at the World of Akiba, we make sure that we try to always emphasize we are standing on the shoulders of giants. We celebrate all those who have gone before us. We share us what we say, we share a sacred trust. Some of y'all been to the camp. We share a sacred trust of those who have gone before and with those who will come after. So our celebration is non-stop. Exactly. However, the government gives us an opportunity for us as a people to go back and celebrate it in a month. So I'm going to take this opportunity, you know, and I'm going to double my portion. I'm going to double my portion of celebration. Yeah, I got that right. I'm going to double my portion of celebration and enjoy it. So I'm hoping that y'all enjoy it. Y'all been enjoying it. Y'all been reflecting. Y'all been looking at what's going on and in what has happened, what is happening, and what should happen in your life. You're getting a vision of who you are. And so with that song, Angels Are Watching Over Me, I had to take y'all back. I had to play the old school because it's nothing like old school spiritual comfort. You know, it's just what I'm used to. I grew up on old school. I love the new school, but that man, the way them sisters sang it, woo, and then they had the young ladies dancing. Yes, but definitely angels watching over. And then it's not necessarily only angels on a spiritual sense that are not or in the spiritual realm. And now hopefully y'all was watching understanding African spirituality, and you know that there's the balance of the physical and the spiritual, and the physical realm and how it relates to the physical realm, and how the spiritual realm relates to the physical, and the physical relates to the spiritual. I think I said that wrong, but how that becomes a balance of relationship and interaction in a journey, right? And so we do that. Now, what I always want to try to connect is the fact that we here, World of Akibaland, are always focused on the rise of the African, and it's not a separate struggle. This is when it gets good for me, because the word continuity, we'll see it pop up again. It's just not a separate struggle. We're partaking on the struggle of Black people since what happened in slavery. This has been an ongoing struggle, because if you're looking at African history class, you'll see where they started dominating the outward countries. Were jealous of Africa taking over Africa and wanted to control all the resources. And so once they controlled the land, they said, "Well, dude, wait, we destroying in war. The last resource they have is the people. So now they're still controlling the people and the land." And we have countries, if you watching Afro Stream, we have countries who are fighting colonialism and a hold of colonialism and global colonialism. Now, economic colonialism. Woo, that's a different conversation. We might have to have that conversation on African Speaks. Uh, Economic colonialism. Yes, that could be on AfriStream too. African Speaks, whatever, whichever one works. But that's that big conversation for adults, that your parents, okay, and young adults. And if you have been open to your higher level of thinking as children, and you can come to and have the conversation with your mom and dad to get a concept of what these concepts on the African Speaks mean, and have that dialogue. But this is the after rise of the African is a continuation of everything that Black people have gone over ever since they invaded the continent. Right. Because before they invaded the continent, we was a great people, the rise of the African. We're not going somewhere we haven't been before. We're going to a place where we've been comfortably. ruling the world for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. This is just new for us, right? As a people, this is new for us. Our history is greater than the 400 years that they're painting in this country, as well as the 400 years of enslavement. It goes so much deeper than that. And so, African history class will get you that. But today, we are celebrating the struggles of the people who were in this, the struggle against slavery, the struggle against civil rights, the struggle against human rights and injustice. So we look at our contributions to this country. Ain't that something? To the country. And African history class, you know what? I might drop it even in Black History Month. The contributions we made to the struggle and liberation of Black people globally. We might just do that next week. But this week we have those contributions here. So love, love, love Black History Month because it gives us that double portion, that opportunity to double kick in it because everything we doing spiritually connects to the struggle of our ancestors, those who gone before and those who will come after. Why? For the rise of the African. So if you're watching via YouTube, please click the subscribe button, click the notification bell, and let's move our movement forward to our people. And if you're watching via Facebook, go ahead, like, comment, share. This is something that we need to make sure gets out. Why? Because the movement that we're doing for, world of Alkeubulan, and we're trying to get it the world over, is a part of a greater movement, position. So we have, and I did promise myself I was going to create another program for the month of February before it's over. One for Black love, and two because it's Black History Month. We're gonna do this, and then we got a big announcement come the 13th. So y'all be ready for next week. But we do have make sure you're here Sunday. Tuesday night, The African Speaks. Thursday night, after stream at 6:30, 7 o'clock. Saturdays, we have African history and African spirituality class, so we want to make sure we're there. And then everything we do is based on an ancient covenant that we have with the Creator. That's it. And so we try to show that. And we said that that covenant is based off of relationships, that hand holding. Now, if you were part of the African history class and we spoke about the empire of Kush or the Nubian Empire, which came way before Egypt, right? They talked about the Maya, and they both had similar spiritual foundations. And so they shared some of the foundation, but the Maya is the balance, that relationship with man, relationship with man, right? Man's relationship with the land, man's relationship with God, right? And so those relationships are key. Those relationships are key. And so that's what we're trying to maintain. And that's where if we can sit down and say, I will be your God if you be my people. Our relationship with God. Let's get it. That's it. So continuity. And so we do connect, and that's always the word. Continuity is always the word. Not only is there continuity with spiritual continuity in terms of our faith, but it's also historical continuity. We are trying to nothing more, nothing less than what Black people have done time and time again. This is exactly who we are and what we do. And I'm loving it because uh, it flows directly in coincides with what the theme of the year is, which is the year of amplification. And that means tapping into the power of God for your double portion of power and energy. So we've been talking about gathering your energy. We've been talking about being stronger. We've been talking about finding your purpose. We've been taught why? Because we're trying to match their efforts. We're trying to match their efforts. And we're going to get that. So when we talked about it, we talked about, again, the art, because it's a skill set. The world will sit down and have you think that you're not supposed to be mastering yourself. No, you can't master anything else until you master you, which is power and purpose. And we said to get that, we had to do what? Ask 5 questions. Who am I? Where am I? Why am I here? What can I do? Where am I going? Now, we're gonna go back because I'm gonna juggle that. And then we said you just got to take the first step. You got to make a decision, and I'm going to answer the questions. You got to take the first step, and how powerful that first step is, and the things, the fact that you need, balance, you need support, you need quite a few things, and we discussed that. But what we did say is, as you go forward, balance, support, guidance, you also need to know that there are no losses. There are no losses in this journey. There are absolutely no losses. There's only a win and a learn. That's it. A win and a learn. And so imagine being a part of this struggle of some people call it, wait, let's do it now. Some people call it human rights, and some people call it civil rights. And a lot of times, we get caught up in this thing, human rights and civil rights, and we usually Black history, we talk about civil rights, but there's something greater than civil rights. Yes, there's something greater than the civil rights movement, because it was a movement, and let's discuss it again. In Black history, you're going to see that battle for civil rights, but it's a greater movement for that. And this is where, I had an argument with a couple of people after African speaks, and we're going to deal with that because we're still dealing with the issue of human rights. Right. The right to be able to govern ourselves on every single level, because you can't be asking somebody for civil rights. That was a conflict back then. Civil rights is a contract between citizens and their government, where the government spells out rights afforded to its citizens. Now, at any given time, civil rights can be overturned, and that's what we have to watch out for. Them changing our civil rights to saying, no, you know what, we're going to change your civil rights. We're gonna make it different. What you mean? Yeah, because we need y'all to be slaves again. Right? Yeah, we want y'all to not have jobs. Or we don't want you to get paid. We want to be able to do what we want to do. We want to take away your a right to vote. We don't want you voting no more. Why? Because there's too many of y'all, and y'all vote. When y'all vote together, you vote strong, and when you vote strong, Republicans lose, and the Republicans can't keep losing. So now Republicans got to figure out how to get the Democrats to be Republicans. So we got to change our platform. You know what I mean? And so it's a whole fight. And so they change. What they do is if your people go vote, if you're 18 and over and you're going to vote, that's important, because we had to fight for that right, because they can change how they treat us through politics. Ain't that something? They can change how they treat us through politics. That's ridiculous. And so we have to stay vigilant. We think we made it just because we have more freedoms. Civil rights. Civil rights is not enough. We have individuals in our lifetime who have fought against human rights, the inherent rights that all people have simply because they are human. Yeah, the all rights that all people have simply because human. Look, I have not necessarily guaranteed by a government, right? Food, clothes, and shelter, right to marry, right? Uh, right to refuse to kill, which is go to war, right to rest and leisure, just to relax, right to give God praise, right to name your names, define yourself, right to build your own schools, your own police stations, your own farms to feed yourself, the right to have everything that we deserve as a people, like everybody else. And Black people in certain circumstances have forgotten, because the civil rights have released so many freedoms. We've forgotten that we're supposed to be struggling against human rights. Man, we about to go at it on African Speaks this week. Because there's a generation that started in the 80s and 90s, a younger generation that they have no struggle. And that's why I said, if you get my age, and all you care about is having fun, yeah, you still think that civil rights exist to the point where we don't have to fight for nothing. No, we not even at this age, we not finished. The struggle's not over. Why? Because we haven't been guaranteed human rights. How can we tell? Yeah, speak to George Floyd. How about speak to his family? Human rights. Civil rights have not, and that's why we got to fight, 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 fight when something happens to get justice. Fight, 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 fight for justice. No, no. This why we celebrate Black history, because we have made great contributions in making the world a better place. Yes, and not only that, it's the scenario where we look at people where people adapted a deeper spiritual consciousness of who they are in God and said, I'm not going to be defined by what society tells me I'm defined by. I'm going to be defined by who I see myself in God and how I see my people in God and how we want to be related to as how we see ourselves in God. That's what Black history is for me. It's a spiritual reflection on individuals who gave, who surrendered to their spiritual awareness of who they are in God and what they needed to do in the environment in which they live in to bring about human rights, civil rights, and human rights in the society in which we live. We fight for both. We're going to continue fighting for civil rights until we can get the world to begin to discuss the human rights of all people. Now, when that happens and we realize that we are still being, controlled, but we want human rights because we see ourselves greater in God, we'll do that. And that's what this is. That's that continuity. That's what this is. Right? So we're gonna keep going back and forth. The battle between human rights and civil rights. And the fact that the struggle is not over and every generation has to take a look at what is still needing to be done. And we cannot act like just because I can be online and have freedom of speech, that should be a human right. But we had to fight for that, right? So we want to make sure, that we continue this fight. Now, there's a tradition that I started with World of Alkeubulan when it comes to celebrating Black History Month. And I sat down and said, you know what? I was going to do something different. And I paused and said, why do something different? Continue the tradition. Why? Because we are a people of tradition. Now, there are a set of cards. Oh, man, I meant to bring the cards here so that y'all could see the boxes, right? But there's a set of African history cards that we have. And what we do when we were in public, able to see each other, what we would do is we would mix the cards up, brothers on one side, sisters on the other side, mix the cards up, and we would ask them to pull a card and figure out what ancestor is speaking to them via history. And so we would look at the ancestor, we would read who the ancestors was, and then we would try to equate uh, what it is to what are they saying to them. And so I did that this morning. I sat down, I closed my eyes, and I mixed the cards up, and I said, so who's speaking to me today? Put it out. Wow. Right? And I got the brothers, mixed them up, and said, who's speaking to me today? Wow. Wow. So we have four people, and we can get through all four. And if we can't get through all four, then before our time is up, we'll start again because we got all February, and then I can actually continue it if I want to. I could actually do a Black History class. That might be a class I can start. I said I'm gonna start a new class, right? Black History class. We're trying to prepare you for your day. But this, I had an idea what I'm gonna do, but this might be something new, and I might be doing that because I know when I was a kid, I didn't know much about who I was and what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go, and I wanted to learn about those who have gone before me. There was something that we came out with, not we came out with, but Black people came out with when I was young, called the Eyes on the Prize. And my aunts and everybody would always call me because I was that kid that wanted to know more about me. It's just me. Now I can't say I remember a lot, but I can say it pushed me to being here, doing this, knowing who and whose I am, and what talents I have and how I can contribute to the development of our history by creating our future, right? Hmm. So I did that. And so today, as I threw the cards up, picked them up, first person we're going to talk about is Fannie Lou Hamer. Now, these are the cards, right? So all I did was I scanned the cards and I posted them up, right? And so Fannie Lou Hamer, October 6th, 1917. Can you believe that? She was born 1917. What was the world like before then? Man, it was horrible. It was horrible. And that's all I can say. Horrible. And then she was born in Mississippi. And they didn't say that up in there. Yeah, they didn't say that she was born in Mississippi. I read that. Back in them days, Mississippi was the worst place to be for a black person. Some may say Mississippi still worst place, one of the worst places to be for a black person, especially when you're dealing with the law. I mean, I have so many horror stories about Mississippi. I don't even want to drive through Mississippi. You know what I mean? It's just the horror stories that come out of that area and what black people had to deal with. I have family. I have a family members who are still in Mississippi, and I have my family has history in Mississippi with the Ku Klux Klan, and it was, and I don't want to talk about it, but it's the most horrible experience I could ever read about, tell my daughter about, and help her understand why we are the way we are. I don't know. Why we fight the way we fight. Why we dig the way we dig. It's because of that history, and a lot of times our history connects. So for this woman to come out of Mississippi, and now go ahead, y'all write the name down, Fannie Lou Hamer, because what I want you to do and what I'll try to do is on another day. Wow, we could do this. I can actually come up with a whole nother class, which is find a documentary on Fannie Lou Hamer so that we could actually watch her whole life story. But here we're going to look at it. We're going to see what she's. So let's look at it. Voting rights activist, civil rights leader, and philanthropist. They said she worked for student nonviolent coordinating committees, and then SNCC, SNNC, and that was with King and them, right? And so with King and them, that was like the and they kind of defunct. SNCC is kind of defunct now, and we can. That's another whole historical thing that we could discuss, which is SNCC. We might do that. I might really just do this Black History thing. And it's helped poor and the needy families in her Mississippi community. Well, it doesn't tell you she's from Mississippi. Y'all see these pictures of Mississippi, y'all gonna understand this fight ain't over. This is not over. Even though we get to eat the way we want to eat, you know what I mean? We get to live the way we want to live. We get to go to school the way we want to go to school. We get to dress the way we want to dress. We had to fight for that. And we should be fight. The fight is not over. Why? Because the government still will try to take, and every time when you're 18 and older, and if you're looking at the news, they always trying to take away our civil rights. Always. And that's why it's important to vote. Because back in that time, we weren't allowed to vote. And they wanted to be able to control who was why, because we want to change the laws so that we get some sense of justice and equality. People died for that. Died. Mm. She became the vice chair of Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. That means it was a target on her life. Woo, in Mississippi. You know what it's like to know that you're doing what God has called you to do, being who God called you to be, but you know that white folks want to kill you for it. And I'll say this, you're not doing anything in this world if white folks don't feel threatened about you. If the governmental power don't look at you as an enemy of the state. You're not doing anything. If once and that's the thing, I talk, we're going to have this argument with some grown folk, right? I'm going to have this argument. Because once your kids are grown and off and you living on your own and you have no struggle, you have no way to continue, or you're grown and then you're off on your own as kids and 18, 19, from 18 to you're dead. You know what I'm saying? You have no purpose to fight for civil rights and for human rights. You have no connection. I have a friend that talks all the time, and he argue, but he does nothing with his life. No purpose, no community service, no nothing. People died just so that we could vote. So she died on March 14th, 1977, and according to the New York Times, wow, with the work she did, New York Times, white institution, said, none of us would be where we are today had she not been here at the time that she was in. Ain't that something? And so she was pivotal at the time that she came through. Now there's a one saying, and this is what I'm gonna do different. Normally we just talk about that, and then well, I did something different because I pulled quotes from these from our Black History salutes, tributes. I pulled quotes. One quote I didn't post up was one she said, and I didn't know she coined the phrase, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I was like, wait, that's a mama's phrase when you say I'm sick and tired of being sick. And I've heard that my whole life. And just today, just before we went live, I found out that she said it. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Meaning that she was watching Black people be destroyed, be hurt, be marginalized. Marginalized meaning you're not allowed to be your fullest self in anything. And she said, I'm sick and tired. So she said, I'm gonna always speak out against people who don't let us be our fullest selves. So she didn't choose. She wasn't a sacrifice. The ankh is a symbol of life. It's a symbol of life. She said, I fought for your life, mine. And so how do we get to a point where we don't fight for our own lives and the lives of others? I don't get it. We share a sacred trust. We couldn't be here if it wasn't. And this is why, for me, Black history is important and why we do it. I'm done. That's it. I'm doing a Black history class every week. Okay. Yeah, this is important. The spirit just hit me. Y'all gonna see me. We getting ready, and that might happen on Monday nights. Monday nights, Black history, right? Because we have African spirituality on Saturdays. We're gonna do Monday night Black history because I'm done with trying to get parents and kids to understand that this struggle is not over. The only way we can do that is to continue these lessons. So Monday night, woo, that's a lot. I got a lot on my plate. Monday night is Black History Study again because Black History for us starts January 1st and ends December 31st. So why should we wait? Monday night Black History class. Yes. See y'all there. We're going, oh, don't worry. The gaming is coming. I know I'm getting y'all thinking, but we're going to have some fun too. We definitely going to have some fun too. So let's take a look at what she's talking about. Sometimes it seems like to tell the truth today is to run the risk of being killed. Now she's speaking up for Black people during the 1917s and through her journey. From 1917, I guess when she got old enough to realize that I need to speak for Black people. She said, just to tell the truth, they want to kill you. But if I fall, meaning if white folks come in and they kill me, they lynch me, they shoot me, they put their knees on their neck, understand this, I'm going to fall 5 feet 4 inches forward. I guess she was 5 feet 4 inches. She said, I'm going to fall forward in the fight for freedom. Come on. When you sitting down and you looking at the videos, and we'll play these videos and we're going to get educated now. We're gonna build up a group of revolutionaries, a group of Black people, a Black youth, a generation of Black youth who are not scared to speak truth and not scared to not just fight for civil rights, because we have to keep fighting for civil rights. It's sacred. Why? Because people died just so that we could vote and have a civil respect by the government. Y'all need to understand what's happened to apartheid and all these other places. I'm doing it Monday nights. We're gonna advertise this, man. Monday nights is Black History Night from here on out. Yes. So I gotta see if I could do it early, maybe 6. If I start at 6 and we'll play a video. And that's what it is. I'm gonna just grab videos and play videos. And we watch videos on Monday nights. And then, it'll be easier for me to create that way. So we'll see, but it needs to be done. Definitely needs to be done. Or maybe we do it on another class on Sunday night. Nah, Monday nights, real quick, half hour, not long. You know what I mean? But freedom. She said, I'm gonna move forward. I'm not backing off. I don't get emotional because I feel a spirit in the room. I'm gonna fall forward. If I die, I'm falling this way, forward to freedom. You will not get me to take a step back from being what God has called me to be and doing what God has called me to do. This is what we talk about here in World of Alkeubulan. We're trying to get you to be the best that God have you to be so that you can figure out what God will have you do in the time that you live in. Because we still got schools in black neighborhoods that they don't really teach our kids anything, right? If you ain't got straight A's, you anyway, I tell my daughter, if you ain't got straight A's, we gonna be struggling as a race looking for leadership because they already miseducate us. They already don't give us the right education. But if you failing at the wrong education, so now not only do you got you don't have AB, you can't read. Now you can't do math either. And we need engineers. We need STEM. Period. STEM. Straight A's in all STEM. Straight A's in anything where you have to read anything. Why? Because this fight is not over. We need you to fall forward towards civil rights and freedom. You need to understand this. The struggle's not done yet. We want to have fun. We want to enjoy life. We want to have hope for the future. But that means the things that we got to do. So let's learn about what happened so we know how did we get here? How did we get here? So you can pray the next quote. You can pray until you faint, but unless you get up and try to do something, God is not going to put anything in your lap. He's not going to put it in your lap. So we come here and we learn how to be our best in God. This is what we learn. Ooh, ooh. We learn how to surrender ourselves to the Creator. We learn how to give ourselves to the Creator. But they said it doesn't matter if you praying all the time. You got to look at your little feet and know that they can make big steps. And so with that, you have to do something. You got to act. You got to do something. You got to participate in something. You have to create something. You have to develop something. And so when I'm looking at a lot of times when we do this, I said, what is her spirit telling you? Whoever reads it when we together, it said, what is her spirit telling you? Well, obviously, you see what she just told me. She told me that I need to do a Black History class because they need to understand that the sacrifices we made. There needs to be something out there where if kids want to connect to that, their history, we don't have to wait once a month. And there might be documents of history and information out there that they can learn and read and connect with. And maybe somebody break down what's going on. And I might commentate, you know, and that might be it. Or get somebody else to commentate the stories. And we can get other individuals to do Monday night Black history. And then Saturday African history. So we understanding both sides of our connection, where the both sides of the ocean, because they that pond, the sea, the transatlantic slave trade. There was a lot of history that we had when we got here. That's why we celebrate Black history. What happened to us while we got here, and how well did we do to add to what was here? But then there's tons of history that happened before we got here. Thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of years of greatness. And so in us is that spirit that says we always need to connect to our greatness. And so African history and Black history is supposed to connect me to the greatness that God placed in me, the same way God placed greatness in you. And so Fannie Lou Hamer is just one of the multitudes of people who have greatness in them. And so I said, okay, okay. And so I was going to come up with something different when it came to what I thought her spirit was telling me. But this was, you know, This was it. Spirit just hit me and she said, teach the class, brother. People don't, a lot of people don't know why I do what I do and how I do what I do is because I'm listening to the ancestors. I listen to God. I connect to something deeper than myself, my own personal desires. Do I want to sleep? I love to sleep. I love to play video games. I love to go to movies. I love to do a whole lot of things. What I love more than that is fighting for black people. Because there's nothing more sacred than the liberation of black people. And we can have a history of black people who will say that with us. That there's nothing more sacred than the liberation of black people. Now, I didn't know I was going to spend the whole time talking about Fannie Lou Hamer or the connection and everything else. So I have four other individuals. So we got 4 weeks. Well, let me see if I could. I got 15 minutes to see if I can talk about this sister. Now, sometimes in understanding or learning Black history, some people are not gone. Some people are still here. Now, in this, of course, we're dealing with human rights and civil rights, right? Carol Mosley Branham. She's still here. She was born in 1947 and she's still here. I think they even have a high school named after her. Yes, they got schools named after her because she was so great. Look at the big smile. She was like, wait a minute. And wow, she couldn't have done what she did if Fannie Lou didn't do what she did. I didn't understand the fact that politics connected. She fought for us having the right to vote, right? She fought for it. And and this sister was voted for to hold office. The spirit of the black women today are doing something wonderful. We might go over a little bit because I got to talk about this. She was an attorney, an activist, and a politician. What? In a country where we weren't allowed to be politicians, let alone vote. And then when we were allowed to vote, we definitely wasn't holding office. We can vote for white people to be in charge of us. But when she fought for the right to vote through SNCC, because they went, and we go talk about SNCC, man, a lot of kids died getting the right to vote. When she did for the right to vote, they were only allowing, I'm way off chart right here. This is all off the spirit. She did it, but we were only allowed to vote for white people. So we had to vote for people that didn't even look like us. You got Chinese, we the melting pot. The country's supposed to be a melting pot, but you could only vote for white people. White people could only hold office. Ain't that something? And then it was a lot of white men could only hold office. Wait a minute, that's not right. Civil rights. But it should be even deeper than that. Human rights. Where everybody gets a chance to vote for what's best. So she earned her law degree. Now we ain't even talked about and in here we don't have individuals who will fight for school because we're going to school. Wow. We're gonna have to talk about that because that was in between that time of 1917 and 1977 where we got a chance to integrate to go to school because in slavery, we weren't allowed to be slaves. I mean, we weren't allowed to read. Excuse me, sorry. We weren't allowed to read. They wouldn't let us read. But can you imagine not being able to look at the letter W and know that was the letter W? And then if you saw a white kid learning how to read and a white kid said W, and then you just repeated what the kid said. This ain't the fact that you said W. And you could have been a kid sitting next to a black kid, sitting next to a white kid, and a white kid get learning, you had to act like you weren't listening. Code switch. I ain't listening. I didn't hear that. I didn't learn it. What is that? But celebrating Black history. She says she went to law school, earned a law degree in 1972, and looked for a position as a U.S. attorney in Chicago in 1973. And took a position. That's it. Took a position. Wow. While serving as a Democrat representative in Illinois House of Representatives, she advocated for social change, education reform, right? And I can't see that. The first, this is it. The first African American woman to be elected to the US Senate in 1992. That's recent. So you're trying to tell me all the way up until 1992 there was, even now, there's still a lot of first African Americans to produce and do something. Kamala Harris, vice president, first black woman to hold that high of an office. There's still things in this country that we haven't done yet. Wait a minute. And so, but we don't want to fight for certain things and push for certain things. We stopping? Why? Because we think, oh, the civil rights, the movement, we can do. No, it's not over yet. Human rights. We got to push. Civil is counseled out by human rights, and everybody has the right that God has given. Ain't that something? But she was the first woman for civil rights and women's rights. Now let's talk about that, because civil rights didn't mean that women got rights either. The government said, okay, you know what? We'll give you civil rights, but women, you ain't. Yeah. Now women are fighting for, they still fight for rights, equal rights. Why? Because of government. We got a lot to do in this government. Got a lot to do with government. She said more restrictive. She voted for more restrictive gun laws during her time in the Senate. Right. What she's doing, she served as a U.S. ambassador to New Zealand under President Obama. Not Obama. I'm sorry. I see the B. I'm looking, try to look the way y'all looking. Little things, real tiny. Bill Clinton in 1999. So she did a whole lot in her time. Why? Because that's what she was called to do. She was able to see who she was, and God looked at the situation she lived in, and she pursued it. But remember, you couldn't be her if it wasn't for her. And there were so many people who came before Fannie Lou Hamer to get Fannie Lou to be who she is. And maybe we take a look at who she is even further to figure out who inspired her. And I'm just trying to find ways to inspire this new generation coming up to fight for human rights. And not and look, forget fighting. How about building a world of your own? Right? World of Alkeubulan. Black kids who come together united with a united front that makes sure black children all over the world are getting treated fairly, and you fight for each other. What best way to do it? And then you go out in the world and you do great things as individuals, and you become, wait, I had to move fast. You become black history. Yes, you become black history. Now there was a thing where I thought I set it up, but I didn't set up her quotes. But we want to actually see the things that she had to say. And so let's see if we can do it like this. There we go. Defining myself as opposed to being defined by others is one of the most difficult challenges I face. What? Wait a minute. Wait. Let's go back to that. Let's go back to her original page. Let's go back. Now, let's get right. Come on, get up here. She was born in 1947 and she's in the present. So by let's see it 6 4 5 by 1960. By 1960 she was in a young adult. And so in the 1960s till now, she said her fighting for where she is, she got office in 1992, the first black woman. She said the hardest thing for her was not being defined by what people told her that she could be. She had to define her how she saw herself in God. Now, no one, she's the first female in the Senate. How many black senators, female senators we have? Oh man, that's something to look up. Black female senators. Black female. We have quite a few of them. We have a whole, is it giving me a number? They didn't give me a number. They gave me a whole bunch of people, right? It gave me a whole bunch of people face. But she opened the door. She opened the door to tons of black women. What is this sister's name? Because I see, and we have to get to that point where, what are you doing? What did God call you to do? Who did God call you to be? Why are you going to be what other people tell you you can be when you can be what you hear God call you to be, which is as powerful as anybody else? Wait. That was one. Then she had this one. Magic lies in challenging what seems impossible. It's another quote she had. Meaning, when she grew up, they wasn't letting her be. What you mean, women running for office? You getting voted on? Wait, Magic. She got us, helped us to get the right to vote. Now, you want us to vote on a woman to run something? The Senate. I mean, so you trying to be responsible for a whole state, right? You trying to be responsible for no. White folks didn't want that. They can't stop it now. Why? Because of the fight of black people. Because we have. What did she say? The sister said that we prayed. We have fought for to define ourselves or who we are, understood where we come from, why we're here, what can we do, and where we going with it. All of that. Wow, wow. I had someone ask me the other day that what constitutes someone contributing nothing to society. I said, well, that you just can't say anything just because they don't believe in the liberation of black people. That's not what it is. What did they contribute to life? Because we talked about earning your oxygen. We did that the other night on African Speaks. These individuals earned their oxygen. They fought against a system that keeps us from experiencing the God in us and expressing that. They were not afraid to take them first baby steps in a world that is man. Now you see black people doing a whole bunch of things, but we're still not doing all that we can do. We got to take more steps to do the things that God would have us do. Now, now watch this, because all this is off the hip, right? She has one more quote that I want to drop. It is time to take the men only sign off the White House door. What? Did you hear that? Did you know that she said that? I didn't know that till today. I didn't know about her till today. It's time to take the men only sign off. Now that we are voting and black women are fighting for their rights and we moving forward, it's time to take men only off this door and let black women, or women, because she's going to fight for women rights, which should not be a civil matter, should be a human right matter. What? If you're qualified, do it. If you're qualified to lead the people to be a better people, do it. She said it's time to take the white men only sign off the door. And there's never been a white men only sign, but it was rare. Now, did I say Kamala Harris? Woman, black, first. And it happened in what, 2021? Right? 2020? Right? Really? It happened yesterday. You feel me? So understanding that our fight and our struggle as a people is not over. The celebration of Black history is the celebration of people who are able to surrender to the God in them to create things in their lives that other people can be inspired by. That's a movement of a people who have been brought here against their will. And we said, despite whether or not you want us to be under you, no, we fighting for our human rights. But first, we're going to claim them civilly. And now the next journey is a human rights journey. That we don't want the opportunity for a government to change anything. What happens if the government said that all black kids can't go to school anymore? They could say that if they wanted to. Why? Because it's only a civil right. Your fight is not over. It's just begun. World of Akiba. And we did the women today. We'll do the men next week. World of Akiba seeks to be the unifying entity that all black kids can connect with, learn from, grow from, and find direction to be black history. We make this phrase that I am black history. We believe it because you're a manifestation of everybody that's gone before you. But you also got to say, I am black history because you're going to let the God in you come out to do great things in the life that you have. Ain't that something beautiful? So, what can your imagination lead you to? What can your imagination design for you? And if you can figure that out, we're just here to just give you examples and samples of everything possible and hope that one day you'll get it. And so, if you can figure that out, how about this? Keep coming to World of Akiba. Go through every class. I guarantee you will figure it out. We will make sure that not only are you black history because of those who have gone before, but you're going to be black history for those who will come after, meaning that they're going to look at your life and the things that you did and say, I can learn from her. I can celebrate what I can learn from him. I can celebrate what they did. And now I can do even greater. With that being said, yeah, you got angels watching over you. Those who have transitioned into the spiritual realm, hopefully you was watching African spirituality. And then with Mrs. Carla, those who are still here, we watch over you.